Welcome to the Easy Answer Podcast. I'm Brandy, plant-based chef.
And I'm Vanessa, writer and plant-based adjacent.
On this podcast, we explore thought-provoking conversations around food,
share our point of view on current events, and explore how to be plant-based adjacent in this processed world.
Hey, so on this episode of the Easy Answer Podcast, we're going to answer the question, is New York City still worth it?
I mean, are we answering it or are we just asking it? Like we're asking it and you on the side, we're going to throw out the facts. Okay.
Yeah, we're going to help you make that decision. Yeah, Vaughn. So what do you think? Do you think New York City is still worth it?
I mean, some days I feel like it is. Some days I feel like it isn't. You know, I had a friend who moved here from California and she would say like, it's so expensive to live here. I mean, she lived in Boston and she lived in like LA. And I was like, yeah, I do feel like it's kind of expensive. Like sometimes I want to take like a soul cycle class and I'm like, you know, questioning like, can I do this? You understand? You understand?
Right, like, am I going to go to soul cycle or am I going to eat? Like, what am I going to do?
It was like so expensive. She was like, that's not really what I'm talking about. I mean, like, because New York is so expensive, period, to pay for rent. There are things that are uniquely New York, like Lincoln Center, that the majority of people who live here can't participate in. And because, as y'all know, I am born and raised in New York, I don't even think about those things. I don't even think about the things that are uniquely New York, you know? Like if I want to go see a Broadway play, I just know, just get on a TKTS line, you know, or wait till they have the 2-for-1 tickets. Like, because I know all the tricks of living in New York, it's not like that for me. But for someone who comes here from, say, another state, another country, they don't have the luxury of waiting twice a year until the tickets are 2-for-1, you know? Right. Or they might say, well, I want to see a Broadway play for my birthday. And my birthday doesn't fall into that time period, you know? Mm-hmm. And it's just expensive. It is expensive to live here and for what we put up with. Do you think? What do you think, Brandy? Brandy's from someplace else, so she gives a totally different perspective.
Yeah, so I mean, I am definitely on the fence as far as, like you said, New York has some unique things about it that is just like, oh, this place is cool, and there is something about the energy that you experience here that's very different. My challenge has always been the prices here. Nothing about New York makes any sense. From the fact that I have to pay a broker to find me an apartment, which is crazy as a renter. Like that's some New York nonsense. Like that didn't make sense. I remember when I first came here and that was like my experience too. I guess just like the cost of like living and food. I mean, granted, we have some advantages. Well, we used to pre-COVID have some advantages like the train versus having a car, but we all know that there's been like a surge in people, or maybe we don't, but there's been a surge in people getting their licenses in New York, you know, because people just don't want to be on a train anymore. So when you
it's dangerous.
Oh, yeah, the train is not the same.
You know, after COVID is not the same. You know, we discussed this. I used to work in a homeless shelter. You know, I used to work at a company that housed the homeless, that ran homeless shelters. I never worked at the shelter myself. But then that's when I really became aware of the amount of homeless people there are in New York and what it takes to house them and the different tiers of homeless people. Like there are people who live on the street and they just live on the street, you know? And statistically, if you live on the street for more than like 6 months, the average human being, they start to lose their faculties because we need food, water, shelter. Okay. And when you take one of the basics away from a human being or when they don't have one, it really messes with them mentally, you know? And so, and there are people who live in the shelters, that's where they live. Let's say they had a fire, so they live in the shelter, or they had a medical emergency and they couldn't afford to pay rent, so they live in the shelters, right? And then when COVID happened, they had to pull all the people who choose to sleep outside. They live in encampments. They live in the subway, like in where we don't see the tunnels, you know? They had to pull all those people inside. So the people who lived in the shelters because of a fire or for whatever reason, because they found themselves in that, you know, in that unfortunate situation, they were left to feel so uncomfortable because they had never lived with people who might be mentally ill, you know? And a lot of people who live on the streets, not all of them, of course, because we can't make a blanketed statement. Like I just said, it renders you mentally ill. So now in New York City, we have a lot of instances where we talk about this person pushed so-and-so in the train. This person slash someone. People are, and these are stories that we've not heard since since I was a kid. And because I'm from here, like you're like, you gotta have a broker to get an apartment. I've never had a broker to get an apartment in New York. But I also live in the same building as my whole family. You understand? And
Right.
my sister who moved out to a co-op, she gave her apartment to my other sister when she bought a house. There are like life hacks that New Yorkers, know about.
Yeah.
If you're not from here, you're not privy to that.
Right. Right.
And so now the mayor of New York, our new mayor, Eric Adams, Brandy's friend, the vegan.
Oh, friend. Like, yes, we are kindred plant-based friends.
He now is pleading with New Yorkers to come back to work because a lot of companies have realized that you can work remotely. So in a city like New York, where they're paying $20,000 a month for office space, if people can work remotely, then companies might choose, and you buy office space for a period of time, right? Like 5 years, 10 years, or whatever. They might choose like, well, maybe when it's time to renew our lease, we will not renew our lease. So that, and when people go to, downtown in New York, like Times Square, Grand Central Station, it generates a lot of income for the businesses in that area. There are businesses in that area that are only their bread and butter is based on the lunchtime crowd. So now those businesses have been closing left and right. And the mayor wants us to leave our houses and to go down there so that we can now pay, the individual can now pay $15 to $20 for lunch. How do you feel about that, Brent?
Yeah, I think that's insane. I mean, first off, most New Yorkers are spending more than half of their rent. I mean, half of their income on rent, which we know is I think the recommended, right? The recommended breakdown was like 25% rent. There's no way
that one supposed to be like 1/4.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
1 week's worth of work should go to housing.
Yes. Yeah. So that's not the case here. Most people are spending 50% plus. And a lot of people don't even have their own place. So we're talking about the concept of spending more than half of your rent, more than half of your money to pay for rent. And you're sharing it with people.
New York is a unique place where like 50-year-olds will have roommates. I don't have a roommate and I'm 50. That's because, I got connects. But that's not the point. You understand? We just talked about like I have New York life hacks. If you want to, maybe I'll give you a little blog about my New York life hacks. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, and speaking of your blog, let's talk about that. Tell people where they can see your blog.
I do have a blog on medium.com. It's about me living my plant-based journey, and also docuseries. I love docuseries. I am a consumer of media. Me and Brandy talk about docuseries all the time. And so I said, I have to do a blog about the docuseries that I have been consuming and that I love so much. Like, it's like a love thing,
Yeah. And listen, speaking of love, guys, we have one of our favorite guests on
the New Yorker
podcast, former New Yorker, now West Coast gal, coming to help us unpack this conversation a little bit more. Is New York City still worth it? Welcome back, April Joy. Podcast.
Yes. On the best coast now, okay? Icy coming in hot.
So tell us how you really feel about New York City these days.
I mean, listen, I don't see what the big whoop is. I didn't live in New York City, so I don't want anybody coming for me. I knew better. Your hack is you have family and generational housing. My hack is Jersey. So I spent my time, in Edgewater, West New York, Jersey City, Communipaw area. And I found that I had the best views of New York City. My commute time was half the time of people who lived in Brooklyn, which was really the only alternative, right? If you can't live in the city. And Queens.
I live in
Oh,
Manhattan.
go crazy, okay? Go crazy. Yes, go off. Tell the girls.
That's right.
Yes. Well, I mean, I didn't. I tried when I was planning to move from Chicago, where I'm from, to New York. Um, I went and met with a landlord, and I'm looking at this apartment and I'm like looking in the cabinets. I'm like, there's like cockroach dander in here. And he's like, yeah. I said, well, I can't live in an apartment with roaches. He's like, lady, you're in New York. And I was like, well, I guess I got to go to Jersey because I can't. I'm allergic. Literally, I am allergic. I did the skin test. It's bad. I cannot.
Me
And
too. I don't like roaches either, girl. That's why I don't
no.
live with them.
So, and I mean, they're everywhere. They're like pets. So, no thanks. So let me count this up. So now you've got New York, overpriced. You got roaches and rats for pets. The rats are the size of cats. The cats don't want to have anything to do with the rats. You don't have any alleys. Trash is on the street. China's coming in and buying up all the real estate. So there's nothing like Chinese and the Saudis are buying all of the real estate and they're buying it double and over and paying cash. So there's nothing left to purchase for the regular guy or the American in general. We don't make as much money as them as much as we like to pretend we do. And now everything's going to be trickling down for renters. And because they're paying over asking for properties, what do you think is going to happen to the rental market? And then you're right, as you have people transporting from like more expensive cities, they're going to come to New York and say, this is more expensive than I thought, but they can afford it. They can hack it because they live someplace. It's still cheaper than where they came from. They still don't have a car note or don't need to have a car note or whatever.
New York for sure.
Mm-hmm. And insurance, like in LA, even registration, your registration for your car, your annual registration is not just a flat fee. It is a percentage of the value of your car when you bought it.
Isn't that the worst? Yeah,
it's awful.
I lived in LA, but I lived in LA before that. They did that. You know, it was a flat fee.
It's awful. It's awful. It's a whole. It's like a car note. It's like paying 2 car notes on the month that you have to renew your registration for your car. It's insane. So there's like that, and then the insurance is so high, and the cars are more expensive, and our taxes are higher in California or whatever. That's fine. So you go to New York, and it's like, dang, this is still pretty expensive, but it's expensive, and I can afford to live in the city. I don't have to live in Brooklyn. I don't have to live in Jersey because compared to Los Angeles, this is nothing. Like it's doable, it's hackable, right? I don't agree. I don't waste my money like that personally. I don't, no matter where I live, I'm not doing it. You've got, like you said, transportation. You have public transportation, but it's freaking deadly. You have all these wars.
Let's qualify that experience. It wasn't that bad.
Ever since I left, it's fires, floods, rapists, murders, pushers. I'm good.
I don't know about fires.
The transformer fires and the trains, that happens all. So you don't even know anymore. It's so common to you. It's like, whatever. Yeah, transformer fire, whatever. It slows the trains down for 3 hours. No big deal.
I lived in LA too. I'm a person who's only lived in big cities as well. So I don't even really consider Chicago a city. I lived in LA. I lived in New York, and I lived in DC.
My hometown. I can't let you do that.
You talk about New York, and I try.
Can't let you do it.
You talk about New York, and I just all right.
We'll discuss that offline. Just know for the crib, I can't let you do that.
That's funny. But one thing I will say about LA, I felt like, okay, so like say if you wanted to get say I got a studio apartment in New York, right? Mm-hmm. In New York, a studio apartment, let's just say where you live. Well, we can't go by me, we go by regular people. So a studio apartment is going to be like $22,000 to $2,000, depending on where. $22,000 to $3,000, depending on where you live in New York, right? A studio apartment in LA, an apartment in LA, it would be that much money. However, you could get a 1-bedroom. You could get a parking spot too.
Yeah, but not today.
No, not today.
But in LA,
No.
they make you replace your own refrigerator. I don't know why that
Yeah.
bothers me, but that
Yeah,
bothers
you
me.
gotta
I
bring
live
your
in
own
an apartment.
appliances.
I have to replace my refrigerator. That sounds
You gotta
crazy.
bring your own appliances. You're paying for all your utilities. You're paying an amenities fee if you live in an apartment building. You're paying for your parking space. You generally only get one parking space unless you have, even if you have a 2-bedroom apartment, if you have one person on your lease, you're getting one parking spot. Like, and it's tandem if you do have two. It's a lot. It's like there's good and bad. And no, you're not getting no studio. You're not getting your studio apartment in LA right now in LA proper. No matter where you go, it's gonna run you at minimum $3,000. It's gonna be about $3,500. A 1-bedroom will be 36, which is really annoying. And then it just goes up from there. It's disgusting, and it's not even a good one. It's not even a good studio apartment. It's not even a good 1-bedroom. That's just like 1 bedroom
How
in
can
LA.
you ride for a place where you're getting
Oh,
$3,500
and then the worst part about
studios?
this is the worst part about LA, and this is what I felt. And this girl I know who moved there recently said it. They don't pay well enough in LA. She said, like, they want to offer you jobs and pay you a small. At least in New York, we will pay someone to be an executive assistant, and they'll get paid 6 figures. In LA, the pay is not comparable to what the cost of living is.
I don't know. I was at a 6-figure assistant in LA. And I know a lot of 6-figure assistants in LA. You're not gonna get paid 6 figures working as an assistant to like a TV. I mean, well, maybe a TV exec, but not like just some studio exec. No. You got to know where to get the money. I worked in finance most of my life, and you're going to make money no matter where you are working in finance, right? So that's a preference. We're not going to talk about LA. LA, we all know that's very expensive, overpriced, which is why these people leave LA and they go to like Texas and Atlanta and now New York, DC. They're doing that and just buying everything and renting everything up. They're fucking up the ecosystem, like the renters ecosystem, because they keep, raising the prices on everything. And then the more gentrification happens, see, we're not calling it gentrification anymore. As long as it looks cute enough for us, it's no longer gentrified. It's just, they upgraded this block. But the more that happens, the more they tear down these single family houses and replace them with multi-dwelling units, right? Just crowding people, stacking them on top of each other like we're in China or something. The more they do that, the worse we're all going to be, because you think they're going to replace a single family house that somebody bought in Brooklyn for whatever the fuck, and now they're gonna turn it into this big huge apartment building that they had to have financed through somebody, brokered by somebody, a gap loan through this person, and then have an investor on this, and you have all this money pouring into it. So now it's going to be high-end appliances and hardwood floors and floor-to-ceiling windows and this and that and all the gadgets and technology. Now they got to charge for that. Now they have to charge for that. They got to put a price tag on that because they just invested so much and they have so many hands in the bucket that they got to pay everybody out. They're pricing everyone out. They're not even just pricing out the middleman anymore. They're pricing everyone out.
It's so funny that you say that, because we were going to do a whole show on one of our shows. Is America, is it a country or a business?
A business. They fucked it up. And it's not just America, it's the world. Like that's a whole nother soapbox, girl. Human beings they've destroyed this opportunity. They had this beautiful this earth with all these things that just regenerate and like make things better and blah blah blah. And this is what they do with technology. This is what they do with things. I mean, there's so much health tech. There's so much like fintech. There's so much technology that's just sitting on a shelf because litigation said so. Right? We don't even get to explore it and use it. No one does. No one gets the baby. No one gets the baby because it's all about commercializing. And if real estate is just another product. It's just another product.
So if you lived in New York and Eric Adams told you, okay, listen, this is just chill out.
Okay.
And Eric Adams told you to come back to work, you would be like, what?
I didn't go back to work on the West Coast. I'm no, I'm not doing it. The very first time that they mentioned that we might have to start working from home, this was like the end of April when our environment started hearing about it because we have an office overseas in Asia. So we were just kind of measuring how we were going to react to this based off of what our Asia
It
offices
started
were
in March.
doing.
You're saying the end of April
I'm
2020?
sorry. February.
Okay, February. Got
Sorry,
it.
the end of February. Yes. We started sending people home at the end of February. By like the first week of March, half of our office was working from home already because we were preparing and making sure that like our Bloomberg terminals were up and that people can still trade and that everything would be running properly. So we sent like a slew of people home to test it. And the first thing I said to myself was, oh, the commercial real estate industry is about to go down because once this works, once this is proven successful, there's not like, why would people renew their leases? For what? Why?
Yeah, you
Why
can
would
live in
I incur the
Chicago.
cost of overhead?
Yeah, you can live in Chicago and work and do LA hours, you know?
You can do whatever you want. You
Yeah.
can do whatever you want. And also, human beings have adapted to it more quickly than I think anybody wanted them to, or society needed them to, because human beings don't want to go back. They don't want to do it. For what? Often, and they know it. These offices, these companies and corporations are aware. That's why they're rolling it out slow. Oh, you don't have to come back every day. Just come back on Mondays and Wednesdays, okay? It's cool. Fridays, that's mental health day.
Yeah, they did some. There was some article earlier this week that I read that talked about
the hybrid work.
The 4-day work week being implemented like across multiple, like a lot of companies are going to test it. So like we're talking, which is like unheard of. I mean, before, you know, we only going to work 4 days. Oh my goodness!
My friend worked for the military and she had those hours. You work 10. Yeah, you work
the 10
10
hours.
hours. 10 hours, 4 days a week.
Mm-hmm. So, but
they're guess what? They're just trying to not lose the money on their leases. Which, if you think that residential real estate is out of control, especially on the rentals market, commercial real estate is just a whole other ballgame. As long as we continue to praise the sellers, like the people the brokers and the agents for these like monumentous, like first of its class, overly inflated deals, then the price is never going to go down. For what? There's no incentive for prices to go down. There's no incentive to cut deals at all. People don't need the money no more. Everyone has a Rolls Royce today. Like money's whatever. Money's coming from everywhere. These realtors don't need it. It's the clout. It's about setting records and like, oh, I sold the most expensive condo in New York City. Like that's all it is. As long as that is important, which for human beings that is important now. As long as that's important, there's no incentive to bring the money down. It's just going to be like more just guilting people for not being able to afford it.
No, but to be honest,
work harder.
She sells real estate and she works very hard, and she doesn't, make millions of dollars and have a Rolls Royce, and she sells real estate in New York City. She has several deals, but she gets a percentage of the deal. She's an associate, so the broker gets a part of it and she splits it with the broker, but she sells with the team at Compass Realty. And I just think that, people are trying to make a living how they make a living. I don't want to necessarily vilify real estate agents, but I do think that, if the mayor of New York's only solution is for me to come back to work so that I can now, patronize businesses downtown and spend $20 on lunch, and, inflation's gone up, the price of groceries gone up. It's like you don't have a real solution,
Listen, until humans can like get past, like as a whole, can just get past, like can join forces together and just strike, right? Like we've been talking about this for so long, not about striking, but just about the new. Your mayor is not doing anything new. That's not a new move. That's what corporations have been doing forever. That's why we pay so much. That's why we're paying in California, we're paying the driver fee now. We're paying a driver compensation fee for food delivery because their drivers weren't getting paid enough. So instead of the fucking company taking on that and taking off their bottom line, we're having to incur the cost. So now it's a $3.50, another little line item on every single food order because of the California prop, whatever that I voted for. I want these people to get paid, but gosh dang, why do I have to keep paying? I got to pay for bags. The environment is fucked because of, all of these different companies that are dumping things in water and messing. Landfills are doing nothing, sitting there messing everything up, and birds are dying and fishes are dying, and I gotta pay 10 cents each bag.
So why don't you say?
Falls on us.
Yeah, but okay, so like if we all know that we have to pay for these things, like I've gone to the grocery store with Brandy, and she's a little bit of a crazy person. She's like, "Oh no, we're not buying the bag. Come on, Vaughn. We could do this. We could do that. Like remember, like where are we going? Like she's like, we need to plan ahead. You understand? Like what? Like when you plan ahead, that's better too. And Brandy, I've been at this crazy girl's house. She's like, really? We really want to buy food? Like, are we really hungry? Like, is it really worth it? Like, you have to decide if it's worth it for you to order food.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, it's not easy to be woke. It ain't. Not today. Not these days. Because convenience is everywhere. Like, convenience is the product. That's what they're selling. Uber is not a business of like cars and food, and it's convenience. They're selling a service of convenience. Here you go, right at your door. And exclusivity. Oh, I get to have it delivered right to my door. Like I don't have to do anything. And frictionless things. That's also very important. Like not having to think ahead. You think these companies want us thinking? You think the government want us to think? Brandy's doing exactly what she should be doing. Like, yes, let's plan ahead. Let me plan. Let me think. We all ain't got it. I don't. My IKEA bags, how many IKEA bags I've purchased? They're all sitting in my storage unit behind my car. They are never in the car when I need to go shopping. I end up just buying more. It's a shame. It's
so
a
your
shame.
answer is this: New York's not worth it.
I don't think none of these cities is worth it.
And you don't think LA's worth it?
Hell no. I think at least listen, I prefer when I remember walking through New York City on my 10th year and looking down, and just as I'm walking, I'm just looking down because what is there else to look at? I wore black every day. Everyone else, I looked around, everyone else is looking down. It's like the most socially unsocial, passive aggressive city ever, especially when you're riding the subway. Like, and it's kind of funny. It's amusing to see that interaction. There's a culture about it that I didn't enjoy. I need sunshine. I need to be able to go to the beach. I need to ground myself, put my feet in earth whenever I feel like it. I don't want to have to make the most of a sunny day. Like I like palm trees and scenery. I have hills and mountains. So I get more. For me, I get more out of living in California than I did living in New York. But if there were a happy place that was California-esque, but with like Arkansas prices, I would live there. But then we all would, right? And then the prices would go up. So there's never, there's not going to be a place that exists that it has everything that everybody wants, because then everybody will move there, and then commercialism will be like, wait, hold my fucking beer. And then the prices go up again.
Look at plant-based food.
Just to tell you all, we are not communists, nor do we support the Communist Party.
No, exactly. No, also not that. We tried that. People have tried that. That didn't work. We're trying this. This isn't working. I
need something in the middle.
I tell my mom all the time. I say, I hope I live to see the day. I just want to live to see the day. That's it. That this whole thing shifts, or it just at least to see it dismantle. If I could watch it crumble, that'd be great too. I enjoy that. I'm over it.
Watching and after the dismantling happens. So on that note, April, you are one of our favorite guests. You can come back whenever you want to. You always send us down a rabbit hole, and we go down willingly. Right? I'm going April. Okay.
Not on me to go on tangent.
Love you. I love you so much. I'm so happy you came on. All right.
All right, guys. So there you have it.
Hey, right. Mic drop.
Let us know if you think New York City or the city that you're living in is worth it. Until next time, be easy.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. Tune in each week for a new episode.
And stay connected to us on Instagram and YouTube at The Easy Answer Podcast.